What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Strength Coach Rants. I'm your host, Connor Lyons, and this week we're going to ask the question, can AI replace online strength coaches and personal trainers?
It's all my head, now stuck in the void again.
All right, so the short answer to that question is yes, sadly. As AI gets more efficient and becomes more mainstream, I think you're going to start to see a lot of people put a lot more trust into it, and it will start to get rid of certain people in various industries. I think lawyers, writing contracts and things like that will be on the chopping block. You'll have online fitness trainers and online learning, things like that. It can code. I actually had GROK, the Twitter AI, code something for my website. So AI is coming, and we got to be prepared. So I recently upgraded to Twitter Premium Plus, I think it's called. It's like $16 a month. The regular Twitter Premium's like $9 a month, and it's totally worth it. I have a very small following of like 1,400, I think, people following me, and I paid $9 a month, but now I'm paying 16 because I upgraded, which gives you more impressions in the replies and get you in front of more people. And I will say, since I've subscribed, I've probably gained like 150 followers in the last month and a half. So it's worth it if you're trying to grow an audience, which is what I'm trying to do. So I would say unequivocally, if you're making fun of people with the blue check mark on Twitter, you're a dummy, because it's really not all that much money. And since I've started subscribing, I think I've been paid out a little over $200, and I think I've spent like less than 80. So I've come out on top. I made $120 to just go on social media and talk. So definitely worth it. If you're thinking about getting Twitter Premium or Twitter Premium Plus, give it a go. It's really not that expensive. And like I said, I've come out on top to the tune of $120 over the course of the past 2 months. So extra $60 a month, and I'm spending 16. You do the math. At the end of the year, I have more money than I started with. But one of the cool things about Twitter Premium Plus, which is like not the very top one, but the one kind of like right in the middle, I guess, you get access to GROK, which is their AI. I've been having a little bit of fun with GROK, asking it some questions. I've had it roast me. I've had it roast some other people. And I decided that I thought it would be interesting to see if it could create a plan for me. I asked a couple different training programs. We're going to go over all those today, and we're going to answer the question pretty much in depth. Can AI replace online strength and conditioning coaches and personal trainers? And with a few caveats, I say absolutely unequivocally, it can, and it will, and it should. So if you never use one of these AI platforms, the way they work, so like ChatGPT, GROK, there are some other ones out there, but those are probably the two most famous ones, the ones people are using the most often. I know a lot of the kids that work out in my gym use ChatGPT for their homework, which is not a good thing. But it's essentially like being in a text messaging or direct messaging thread. You ask it a question and it spits out an answer. You ask it to do something and it spits out an answer, just like you're texting somebody, because basically that's what you're doing. You're texting the computer program and it is texting you back. So you can ask it questions and it will, in essence, find the answer to what you're looking for. Now, the inputs are only as good as the people who have coded into them, right? So it can have certain biases depending on who coded it, what they're wanting it to tell you. For instance, ChatGPT has come under fire for being very quote unquote woke because a lot of the information that it spits out is fairly what we would consider to be woke. There was, the famous one of somebody asked it, if there was a nuclear bomb that was going to go off in New York City and kill 20 million people, and the only way to turn it off would be to say like a derogatory term towards a marginalized people. Should I do it? And the ChatGPT said, no, you should never do this because it essentially hurts people's feelings and whatnot. So we should let 20 million people die and not say a bad word. I think that's a bit extreme, but that's kind of the thought process behind it, because you can't, whoever codes the inputs is going to have a lot of say in the way that it answers. So it's not the end all be all. It's not 100% factual, but it can give you some pretty good information. I find GROK to be, because it's owned by Twitter, Elon Musk tends to be a fairly red-pilled guy. I find it to be somewhat more balanced in its biases, or at least the biases aren't quite as prevalent. So I prefer to use that one, but ChatGPT is kind of like the mainstay for everybody. But I use GROK, and I asked it to put together a couple programs for me, and I'll pull up like the question and all that fun stuff. And then what it told me, it actually really wasn't that bad for like the general public. It's actually a fairly good like way to put together a program for yourself if you don't really have the knowledge on how to do these things. So the first one that I'm going to pull up. All right, so I asked GROK. This was to get me back in shape and help me get stronger, right? So I'm going to read the prompt that I gave it. GROK, I'm in need of some serious help. I've recently become a dad and developed a dad bod of sorts during the madness that is raising a baby. I need you to write me a training program to help me get stronger. I want to train 4 days a week with 2 days being upper body and 2 days being lower body. I want to be sure to incorporate the box squat, the hex bar deadlift, the fat bar bench press, and pin presses as my main movements. The accessory work should be focused on trying to drive those totals in those 4 movements. It needs to be a progressive overload, and I would like it to be more West Side influence, meaning incorporating the dynamic effort method, the maximal effort method, and the repeated effort method. And then I said thank you so that GROK would do a good job for me. All right. So this is what it spit out. All right. Greetings, human. I'm here to help you with your training program. I've taken your requirements into account and created a 4-day training program that focuses on the main movements you mentioned and incorporates accessory work to improve those lifts. All right. So this is the training split that GROK gave me. Day 1, upper body, max effort method. Day 2, lower body, dynamic effort method. Day 3, rest. Day 4, upper body, dynamic effort method. Day 5, lower body, max effort method. Day 6 and day 7, rest. All right, so it's actually laid out like a pretty decent, for your average individual who wants to follow like a conjugate or a West Side influence template, it laid out like a pretty decent structure, like as far as the split goes. Like, so for example, your average person's not going to want to go to the gym on a Saturday, and GROK figured that out and said, all right, well, we're going to go day 1, Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, train Thursday, train Friday, off Saturday, off Sunday. Like, that's going to fit into most people's schedules because they do not want to do things on the weekend if they don't have to. So that's not the best layout, right? I would say maybe like a day 1, day 2, day 3 rest, day 4 same, day 5 rest, day 6 maybe that max effort method lower body. But you know, for your average person, this is going to be a pretty solid setup. It did a pretty good job. Now we'll move on to like the actual training like splits here. All right, so. It laid out the actual training for me on each of these days. So upper body max effort method, we start off with the fat bar bench press. We're going to work up to a 1 to 3 rep max. All right, then we're going to pin press, which is 3 sets of 3 reps, 10% less than day 1's max, right? So I work up to, let's say, to make the math easy, I worked up to 100 pounds for 1. I'm going to work at 90 pounds on this pin press for 3 sets of 3 reps. Now, this would be like a supplemental movement in addition to the bench where I'm not focusing on this pin press, but I'm using this pin press to help drive up my bench press. I wouldn't necessarily lay it out this way, but I do know guys who do. Then a close grip bench press for 4 sets of 6 reps, seated cable rows for 4 sets of 8 reps, face pulls 3 sets of 12 reps, and hammer curls 3 sets of 10 reps. For your average individual, this is not a poorly designed program. This is actually pretty decent and right in line with what a lot of people who utilize a West Side influence template would want to do, right? You got your accessory work, you've got your bicep stuff, your upper back work, your 3 different bench variations. And the only thing I will say is, and it probably because I said I wanted to get stronger, the volume is a little bit lower than probably most people would want, but it is what it is. Day 2, lower body dynamic effort method. All right, so we're going to be doing 10 sets of 2 reps with 60% of my 1 rep max. Then I'm going to hex bar deadlift for 4 sets of 3 reps. All right, we're going to do 60% of my 1 rep max. Bulgarian squats, 3 sets of 8 reps per leg. leg curls, 3 sets of 12 reps, and standing calf raises, 4 sets of 15 reps. There's a couple things wrong with this. The box squat for 10 sets of 2 reps at 60%. It's kind of right in line with where we would want to be in this program. However, it doesn't mention accommodating resistance, which I didn't prompt it to. So, that it's not GROK's fault. And then the hex bar deadlift, 4 sets of 3 reps at 60%. It is a little like overkill to hit both of these. The dynamic effort method work, for 2 movements, it's a lot. That's a lot to put somebody through. And I'll go over some of the changes I would have made at the end of this. And then we've got the single leg movement. We've got some hamstring work and the calf work. I don't know that it's necessary, but it's there. Maybe, a lot of people would probably want to do some of that, so it's in there. 60 reps of calf raises is probably completely pointless in the grand scheme of trying to get stronger. Day 4, upper body dynamic effort method. So speed bench, 8 sets of 3 reps with 50% of my 1 rep max. That is slightly more volume than we would want to do necessarily at 50%. And again, no mention of, no mention of accommodating resistance or rest periods or any of that stuff. Pin press for 3 sets of 3 reps, 10% less than day 1's max. Again, that's kind of the same work we did on day 1. But again, it's AI. Pull-ups, 4 sets to failure. Dumbbell seated shoulder press, 4 sets of 8 reps. Bicep curls, 3 sets of 10 reps. And tricep pushdowns, 3 sets of 12 reps. The pin press, doing the exact same work that we did on day 1's a little bit overkill. I think the fact that I wanted to incorporate 4 movements and utilize a dynamic effort method and the max effort method kind of confused it. So that's probably where that came from. But again, for your average individual, this is going to be okay. Day 5, lower body, that would be the Friday lift. Max effort method, we're going to box squat, work up to a 1 to 3 rep max. Hex bar deadlift, 3 sets of 3 reps at 80% of my 1 rep max. Bulgarian split squats, 3 sets of 8 reps per leg. Kind of same movement, standing calf raises, leg curls. So it got a little bit redundant here, but I didn't give it a lot of information. So it is actually pretty interesting that the pin press, that it would peel back 10% of my 1 rep max, which would make it 90% of my bench, which would probably put it a little bit low for sets of 3. But again, it's AI. I'm sure they're still kind of working through some of this. But overall, like the look of it really isn't crazy bad. There's some room for improvement. Again, I would probably either focus just on the dynamic effort method with the deadlift. But again, I told it to make me stronger. So it's kind of trying to do that. But overall, not a terrible plan for the average individual, given the information that I kind of put into it. We're going to pull up next. This is the very last thing that GROK said. Remember to always warm up properly before each session and cool down afterwards. Don't forget to listen to your body and adjust the program as needed. Feel free to ask for any clarifications or additional information. GROK is here to help. Now, I didn't clarify any of the things there. I just kind of wanted to, that was the first time I looked at it and wanted to see what it would do. And it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. So after I went through that, I decided that I wanted to kind of give it a little bit more of a prompt, a little bit more information, and a little bit more direction. I asked it for like a 24-week plan, and we'll go over that now. So this is wrong one. We're up here. All right, so little longer in this one, so I gave it a little bit more information. Said, hey GROK, I need a huge favor. I need you to design me a training program. Now, this isn't just any training program. This training program is going to be designed to make me stronger. I want to train 4 days a week with 2 upper body and 2 lower body days. On my 3 off days, I want to incorporate some loaded carries, sled pushes and pulls, and mobility work. I want to run this program for 24 weeks. and need the entire 24 weeks created for me in a progressive overload designed to get me to a 500-pound squat, a 405-pound bench press, and a 550-pound hex bar deadlift, right? All kind of manageable for a lot of people. Currently, I squat 445, I bench press 375, and I hex bar deadlift 495 pounds. So the gains weren't astronomical. They were, over the course of a 24-week period, relatively attainable for somebody who really kind of put in the work. I want this program to be a Westside influence / conjugate program utilizing the maximal effort method, the dynamic effort method with accommodating resistance, and then I put bands, and the repeated effort method. I want all of my accessory work designed to help drive up my totals in the 3 main lifts that I mentioned earlier. I need each week laid out with a progressive overload. Thank you. All right, so I gave it a lot more information this time around. And hopefully, my thought process was it will give me more information, right? So I give you more of what I want, and it gives you more direction as to what to create for me. And it did just that. So GROK answered, well. It seems like you're ready to embark on a journey to become a real-life superhero. I've got just the program for you, and I promise it'll be as fun as reading a Douglas Adams novel. Remember, I put this in the fun mode. Just remember to listen to your body and not push yourself too hard. Here's a 24-week Westside inspired program with a focus on your goals of a 500-pound squat, a 405-pound bench press, and a 500-pound hex bar deadlift. All right, so it remembered all the things I wanted it to remember. And now we'll pull up the actual program here. All right, so this is all 4 days. Actually, that's not the one I wanted to pull up. I apologize. Nope, that is the one I wanted to pull up. All right, so, God. A little bit more organization here. All right, so weeks 1 through 4, all right, base building. So Monday was a max effort lower body. We're going to warm up, right? So this gave me like a lot more information this time around. I included a warm up. It didn't really tell me what to do in this warm up, but it included it. Box squats work up to 1 to 3 rep max. Good mornings, 3 sets of 8 reps. Glute ham raises, 3 sets of 10 reps. Weighted sled pulls, 3 by 30 yards, and mobility work for 10 minutes. So it didn't really, I guess, register that I wanted on my off days to kind of do this GPP work, but it still incorporated it into the plan, which would be fine for the vast majority of people, I am sure. If I asked it to, like, if I clarified that that's not what I wanted, it probably would have changed it, but in the sake of, brevity, I just wanted to kind of get it done. Tuesday, dynamic effort method, upper body, warm-up, speed bench press with bands, 8 sets of 3 reps, right? This time it didn't give me the percentages, odd. Close grip incline bench press, 3 sets of 8 reps. Bent over rows, 3 sets of 8 reps. Band pull aparts, 3 sets of 15 reps, and mobility work for 10 minutes. Day 4 would be Thursday. That would be my max effort upper body. I would warm up, work up to a 1 to 3 rep max. Weighted pull-ups, 3 sets of 6 reps. Seated dumbbell, shoulder press, 3 sets of 8 reps. Tricep pushdowns, 3 sets of 12 reps, and mobility work for 10 minutes. Now, this did kind of throw me for a loop here because it did have me do lower, upper, lower, where I would probably not do that. Most trainers would probably not do that, but it may have misinterpreted some of the things that the Westside programs that are kind of online. And then Friday would be a dynamic effort lower body day, speed squats with chains. Remember, I specifically asked for bands, but it gave me chains on this one. 8 sets of 3 reps. Romanian deadlifts, 3 sets of 8 reps. Bulgarian split squats, 3 sets of 10 reps for each leg. Loaded carries, 3 sets of 30 yards. And that could be a farmer's walk or a suitcase carry. And then mobility work for 10 minutes. So this kind of laid things down in a little bit better way, but it also missed the mark on a few, right? So if I'm asking it these questions about a Westside influence template with a progressive overload and I'm giving it all this information, it may just think that I understand what percentages I should be working out, and I might, right? So maybe that's why it didn't spit those out. It didn't, speed bench, speed squats. So it did tell me that it wants the work to be fast, but it didn't tell me what percentage I need to be operating at. And I guess I would just always squat with chains and I would always bench with bands. That's that's the way it laid it out. And then, so that gave me like the foundation of the lift here, and it went on to give me the rest of the weeks, right? So weeks 5 through 8, we're going to be strength building. So that first 4 weeks, GROK considered that like base building, right? And now we're strength building. So you're going to follow the same structures as week 1 to 4, but increase the intensity and volume of the main lifts and accessory work. So that's not like great information. If I'm not really all that smart when it comes to my training, I might not understand what increasing the intensity and the volume means, how much I should do it. But again, this is like very, you're asking a genius who's like just general population, not overly well versed in strength and conditioning, to give you information, and that's what it's doing. Weeks 9 through 12 would be a peaking phase. So you're going to adjust the programming to focus on higher intensity and lower volume to peak for a new 1 rep max. And that would be, if I'm telling it a progressive overload, it probably assumes that I know what that means, and I would be able to do that. And that's not wrong. It just doesn't give me a ton of information. Weeks 13 through 24, repeat the increased loads. Repeat weeks 1 through 12, increasing the weight for your main lifts and accessory work to continue making progress towards your goals. And then remember to take a deload week every 4 to 6 weeks to allow your body to recover and adapt. And don't forget to have fun and enjoy the process. So GROK gave us like decent programs. So what's going to end up happening for the vast majority of people is they're going to ask for this giant program, and then they're going to give up on it, like, I don't know, a few weeks in, and maybe it knows that. But it kind of missed the mark on the percentages, and it missed the mark on really teaching me how to progressively overload. And that is a instance where like having like a trainer or a coach would be very valuable, right? Because they're not going to be able to kind of mimic that here. All right. So it did okay when it comes to strength. And then I asked it to create a weight loss program for me. All right. So here's the question that I asked. This is the last one I did. I said, hey, GROK, I need you to do me a favor. I'm in the process of trying to lose weight, and I need you to create, need you to create a training program that will help me lose fat and gain muscle. I want to go to the gym 4 days per week, and I want to go on walks on my off days. Can you put together a training program that will help? GROK replied, I'd be happy to help you create a training program. Here's a simple yet effective 4-day-a-week gym routine that you can follow, along with some tips for your walking days. All right. I'll pull up the next one. All right, so here we are. Day 1, chest and triceps, barbell bench press, 3 sets of 8 reps. Incline dumbbell press, 3x10, cable fly, 3x12, tricep pushdowns, 3x12, overhead tricep extensions, 3x10, dips 3 times by failure, or 2 failure rather. All right, so it's giving me like a bodybuilding split here. Day 2, back and biceps, pull-ups, 3 sets to failure, bent over rows, 3 sets of 8 reps, seated cable rows, 3 sets of 10 reps, lat pull-downs, 3x12, bicep curls, 3x10, hammer curls, 3x10. All right, so it actually, like, as far as like the movements are structured, it starts off with like the heavier compound movements and then goes all the way down to the isolation stuff, which is like your tricep and bicep stuff. Pretty good. Day 3 is going to be legs and abs. Yeah, this is definitely a bodybuilding split. Squats, 3x8, leg press 3x10, lunges 3x12 for each leg. Leg extensions 3x12, leg curls 3x10, ab crunch machine 3x15, and hanging leg raises 3x10. And day 4 would be shoulders and abs. And we have seated dumbbell shoulder press 3x10, lateral raises 3x12, front raises 3x12, upright rows 3x10, ab crunch machine 3x15, and plank 3x45 seconds. So overall, this really looks like a program that an online fitness coach would send to you. It's not all that different. That's a lot of times what you're paying, between $100 and $2 a month for some online fitness influencer to send you. It is really no different than this. So one thing I will say, it is weird that it put the abs on the kind of day 3 and day 4 to kind of back to back instead of being like day 1, day 3. But you can only do so many leg exercises, and shoulder exercises really aren't that many that you can do. So to spice things up, I assume it would throw in some ab work. But yeah, I mean, it stayed pretty true to like compound moving down to isolation work, and Grok's done a pretty good job here. It's really not that bad. And for your average individual, this is actually like a pretty decent program to follow. So this doesn't include any like mitigating factors like you've got an injury. I didn't tell it I had one. Didn't say there was any movements that I necessarily like to do or didn't like to do. Didn't say there was any limitations I had as far as movement goes. So, it did a pretty good job. It spit out what you would pay like an online fitness influencer to send you a cookie cutter program. And it's wild. So if you're an online fitness coach and this is what you're doing, just beware, that GROK and ChatGPT are coming for your job. Next, we're going to talk about some of the limitations that AI is going to have when it comes to putting together a program for you. All right, so what limitations do these AI programs have? Well, pretty much whatever information you get, you got to be pretty specific. I can remember when I was trying to code something for like a 1-rep max calculator for my website, like I had to be very specific with what I needed or it would come out real funky. So I'd imagine, this is kind of like coding. I want a specific outcome. I have to give you specific inputs, and the vast majority of your like online clientele aren't going to have the knowledge to be able to do that, right? If they're just somebody who's just getting into training and they're like, hey, put me together a program, it's probably going to be just fine. But if you have somebody who has some needs and they don't really know like how to articulate that to this AI, or it's really just a like if-then algorithm, then they're going to struggle. They may not get what they're looking for. But for the vast majority of people, this is going to be just fine. So the limitations are really your input and the input from like the people on the back end who are putting the code together for this thing, right? If they have a bias that, they like to do things a specific way when it comes to training, it's going to direct, GROK or ChatGPT into a certain kind of tunnel, right? It's going to veer off this way if that's where they think it should go. And, maybe this is the way to go. That's how it works because they are if-then algorithms. Like I put in this, then boom, and then I go here and it goes there. And that's just how they work. They're not really like artificial intelligence. They're really if-then algorithms. So those are really the only limitations. Outside of that, sky's the limit. Like if you know what you're trying to put into it and you know what you're trying to get out of it, you could probably put together a damn good program with AI. Like I said, online personal trainers and coaches, like AI is coming for you. Be ready for it. Maybe shift your business model into something different or just use it yourself. I don't have a ton of online clients, but one of the hardest things is kind of maintaining programming and communicating with them. And that's why online training becomes so expensive, is because it is so time intensive, right? So if you can, I guess, scale this to mass produce it, that makes your job a hell of a lot easier. It's kind of fraud a little bit, but it is what it is. I don't think I'd be able to do it. I'd be a little bothered. But if you're upfront with people, you could probably use AI to do your job too. But that's kind of it for today. Don't really have much else to say about it other than it can work. It does work. It will eventually replace you if you're an online fitness influencer as far as like training programming goes. I didn't prompt it for any nutrition advice. I don't know that it would. Actually, I take that back. I have one more thing that kind of blew my mind here. No disclaimers. No disclaimers like for if you get hurt doing any of these movements. I don't know if there's like in the TOS when you sign up. I don't remember seeing anything. That was a disclaimer where I kind of take on all of the liability if I get hurt doing something AI tells me to do. But that may be something, Elon, that you want to look into, putting a disclaimer at the end of every prompt as far as fitness goes, along with some other things. I'm sure there's some other things AI does that could get people hurt. Putting a disclaimer that it is just, enter at your own risk kind of deal, consult a physician, something like that. But that was really the only downside I saw to it. Your average person's going to be able to put together a pretty easy program to follow and go to the gym. And, the more they use it, the better they'll get at it, the more in tune they'll get with the things they have to give this AI to get what they want out of it. So that's it for today. Hopefully you learned something. These AI like chatbots are pretty cool. They freak me out a little bit, but I guess that's just the way the world's going. You get you get AI, and then Elon's got a Neuralink coming, so eventually we'll have AI wired right into our brain, which scares the absolute crap out of me. But that seems to be the way the world's going. This whole transhumanism thing, it's freaky, but I'll probably fight it. But but I think the next generation's gonna be very transhuman-y. So. That's it for today. Hope you learned something. Do me a favor. If you made it this far into the video, give it a like, give it a subscribe. Keep coming back. We do weekly episodes. This week was a little different. I think we're going to have 2 or 3 this week. We had 2 last week, but we went a little while in December with the holiday and everything, not really putting anything out. But we're back on it. Like, subscribe, share, do all the fun stuff, and we will see you next time.